Today we have improved cubes. The GuHong V3 is, I assume, not similar to the GuHong V2, but they might be going for most improved cube of the decade. This is the GAN X V2, and this is the 356 RS. Apparently it improves on the GAN 356S, but who remembers that? Whoa, that is small. Okay, not that small. I think it's 54 millimeters. When you're unboxing a cube from Dayan, you gotta be prepared. I am not used to using 54 millimeter cubes. So I was expecting something similar to the Dayan Tengyun, which is pretty popular and quite quiet, which is why I like it. This definitely doesn't have that quietness, and it also doesn't feel the same. It's a completely different mechanism. So in the Tengyun, we have the thin corner stock and also a quite strange edge shape, while in the GuHong V3, it's pretty standard stuff. Let's check out corner cutting. Okay, good. Past 45. Sweet. Not there. Just kidding. And reverse corner cutting. What the hell? Really? Okay, this is actually really far for being able to corner cut. That doesn't even feel right. Well, it seems like it can do amazing things while testing, but the cube doesn't feel like it's corner cutting all that well when I'm turning, which is what really matters, so I don't know. I'll have to probably tension this as it feels like it might be a little too tight right now. For a one-handed size, 54 millimeters actually is pretty good. I think this is pretty comfortable for me. A lot of people like normal size cubes, but my hands are not that big. I think this would have to turn better for me to use it as a one-handed main, but for now, the size is really good. I don't remember what my GuHong felt like as I gave it to a friend who wanted to start cubing. Okay, I was hoping to find torpedoes in the edges. Obviously, we have this built-in thing like we always do now. In case you guys didn't know, the old edges, it either started with the Dayan Zanshi or GuHong many years ago. That part at the end was optional and it reduced popping. So you can put it in or take it out, and cubes nowadays just always have them. And before you could actually just pop out a piece like this just by pulling, but now because of the torpedoes, it gets stuck to the corners. So you have to twist it 45 degrees before taking it out. So I just loosened each side by a quarter turn and it feels a little bit better, but overall I still don't think the corner cutting is amazing. So I would not recommend this cube unless you're going for its size specifically. Even when loosened, the corner cutting still isn't great, and it does feel like it got a lot more flimsy. Like when you test corner cutting, it's honestly the best cube, but during turns it doesn't really act that way. I think it's cool that the GuHong is basically the first cube that could do big corner cuts, and now this cube can do this. But it's still not an amazing cube, although it does have a good price. Now the GAN RS, I didn't even have the R, which was the previous version, so I have no idea what to expect. By the way, this is not magnetic, and you can kind of tell by the way it arrived in the box. Just look at this for a second, and take a moment to appreciate the fact that cubes nowadays are magnetic and never look like that anymore. That just looks so different when turning. It's so strange. I'm sure it only looks so weird because all of the habits I had that would keep cubes stable when I'm turning, those all disappeared, and I just can't do it anymore. Or maybe I'm starting to think this cube is just not that stable. I'm definitely not used to no magnets, but this is quite an unstable cube, as a $5 Little Magic is better. So this feels like a cube that would be good if there were magnets in here, as the corner cutting is pretty good. But the problem is it's just not stable. And some people, when you first hear about magnets, you think it's for each turn that it like correctly aligns it. And while that is true, see, these aren't always perfectly aligning. While with a magnetic cube, you pretty much get on the spot each time. The other thing about magnets is for things I'm not holding, they still stay in place. So if I'm holding this spot, I'm not preventing this layer from moving, but the layer still wouldn't usually move if there were magnets that hold it in place. Because even though I'm moving here, there are still magnets here holding everything together. So unless for some reason you just really want a GAN cube and you decide you're gonna put magnets in yourself to save money, unless you're doing that, I wouldn't go for this cube. Although my best guess is with magnets, this would be a really good cube. It's also got that awesome thing I like to talk about where the corner cutting is like super smooth. So if you make a big corner cut, there's a snap, but if you don't make a big corner cut, it just goes quite smoothly. Why doesn't the XS do this? Oh, wait, it does. So GAN is pretty much the only company still releasing non-magnetic cubes that aren't just straight up budget cubes like $5. And I think this gives people the impression that this cube is better than the ones that are $5, which may be true. I don't know what it's like after magnetized, but just this cube itself is just as good as any $5 cube. Also, this core is interesting. I've never seen this before, but I think you can probably just turn this to get different screw settings, and that's probably all you can do. Now, one thing is I keep saying magnetize this, but I'm just assuming you can get into the edges and corners. I personally don't see how that would be done, but I'm sure it's possible, so make sure you figure out that this is openable before you try and magnetize it. So with the RS at $17, again, I'd go for any stock magnetic cube over this unless you're going to magnetize it yourself and you know you'd like this. But for example, the MF3 RS3 or the Wu-Wei, or more expensive, the Valk or MGC Elite, those are all cubes I'd prefer over the RS. Now you can change the magnet of your... So this is the same stuff as the GAN X, except we also have the core of the 356XS. So magnet system of the GAN X and core of the XS. I'm so glad it doesn't come with the XS box, because that was the dumbest thing ever. Yep, still definitely feels like the X, even though it has the XS core. Also, one thing is they actually have the same outer surface now. So here's the original GAN X, and you can see there's quite a big difference. This one's all shiny, and this one is more matte. Actually, the RS has this as well. So this is something that they started with the XS, where it's a little worn out on the XS, but what happens is this is matte and more slippery, so not something that I liked at first and most people don't like, but once you use it a lot and you get what happens to me with the XS here, this started out matte, but now it's a little shiny, and it kind of like transitioned on its way to being less slippery. And the end result here, after becoming less slippery, I do like it more than the slippery feel, and I also like it more than most other cubes feel. So if you look at random other cubes like the Weilong WR or the RS3, they all have that shiny sort of thing, which is the same as the original X. The point is, I don't like it when it's slippery, but when you break it in a lot, then it's not slippery anymore, and I like that feel more than usual. So in the core of the original GAN X, you would find this spring system. So in the GAN X V2, we have this system that came in the GAN XS, which I explained in the GAN XS video. I won't explain it all again. Basically, it's easier to change the screw and spring options here. The magnet system is still the old one though, so here you have to physically change out the magnets, while in the GAN XS, you can just move this to determine how strong you want the magnets to be, which is so much easier. It also means if you want to change the magnets, you have to carry this around with you, which is annoying. Okay, so I tried taking all of the spring compressions and moving them all to the tightest setting, which I have to say is too tight, which is a good thing, because if the tightest setting was too loose, then obviously the settings aren't great. And it started out feeling too loose, so I know somewhere in there is a good setting. I do like how I can just use this thing. I wish there was a way to do it with my hands. I haven't really tried, but I don't think I can do it. And for these blue things that control the screw depth, I don't like how there's an extra set, because I know I'd lose those, but it still is easier to change than in the original GAN X core. So I definitely like the XS core more, and I'll play with this more to see what I like. Right now, the blue setting's on 1 and the clear setting is on 5 out of 6. I really like this, and I think while I don't think this is as good as the XS, I still like this. Kind of reminds me why I like the X in the first place. Because my GAN X has just been on some random setting that I tested and then decided it wasn't good and just abandoned the cube. So just a comparison between the GAN X V2, which just has the XS core, and the GAN XS. I'm having a hard time describing what their main difference is, but it's highly dependent on setting as well. I'd feel like the XS might be more stable, or it might be the setting being different. Although if you're trying to make it super fast, I found the GAN X works a little bit better. And the GAN X is a little heavier, and just I don't know, the pieces, it doesn't look any different. The pieces feel like they're getting more in the way when I'm turning, and the XS doesn't feel that way. That's pretty much all I can say. It could be setting dependent. I do still like the XS more, but I can't really say why. So that's about it for this unboxing. I think each of these cubes are not like super amazing, but they definitely have their place. The GuHong V3 being 54mm, I think that's kind of like an untapped market. I'm not sure how big of a demand there is for cubes of this size, but if better cubes came out for this size, I feel like we'd really be able to know. Plus it's good for one hand. Then for the RS, I really don't recommend this, as it's quite expensive for how not that great it is, unless you're going to magnetize it. In that case, it's probably the cheapest good GAN cube you can get, and then once you magnetize it yourself, you're saving money. And for the GAN X V2, cool that it has a better core now for customization, although it's still quite expensive and the same price as the GAN XS, so I'd probably just go for the XS rather than the X V2, unless for some reason you know you'd like the X more. So thank you to Speedcube Shop for sending me these cubes, and remember to use the discount code JPERM if you order anything. That way you get a discount and can support my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.